morning, everyone. Apologies once again for the delay. My name is Tarire Yimina. I am the lead consultant at CSR in Action, and I will be your compare for today. Welcome again to the Telecommunications and Technology Sustainability Working Group webinar themed Collaboration for a Resilient ICT Sector. Now, we're going to start with a welcome address from my colleague, Elizabeth Odeni. She's an associate consultant at CSR in Action.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you very much for joining us today at this highly anticipated event. Thank you, Tyree. Thank you for comparing. And my name is Elizabeth Odeni, Associate Consultant at CSR in Action. And I have the privilege of opening this making occasion. I welcome you all to the first Telecommunications and Technology Sustainability Working Group, fondly called TTSWG webinar, where we'll be discussing, as Tyree mentioned, collaboration for a resilient ICT sector, and will be led by our esteemed and seasoned panelists. As you may know, sustainability and its sub-themes such as greenhouse gas emission, carbon footprint, biodegradable, and words that align with that, etc. They seem to be the buzzword of our time, but these words are very crucial for businesses to achieve the necessary, recognizable, and long-term impacts that they need and that they want. And I believe that it is very commendable that the TTSWG has become the leading collaborative private sector advocacy that has managed to bring together key telecommunication and technology stakeholders who will, through joint action and through various strategic partnerships, they will be able to policies together with other stakeholders and advocacies, events, and programs. And I mean, the working group has successfully brought together over 10 communications and technological and over 200 individuals, and more to come for this discussion and for this event. And I think this is a great place to give the working group a round of virtual applause. So I'm going to lead that. And so once again, I welcome you all to the TTSWG webinar, and I look forward to the healthy discussions, deliberations, as well as the learning experience. Thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth, for that amazing welcome address. I would like to encourage us to introduce ourselves in the chat box. Tell us your name, where you're from. We'd like to get to know you. So moving on, we'll be hearing from our Chief Executive at CSR in Action, Bekeme Masade-Olowola. I would like to introduce her to everyone and give her the platform. Thank you.
Thank you, Tarare. Good morning again, everyone. Apologies again for the slight delay in starting this. We wanted to make sure that we had a good number and that were carried along. My name is Bekeme Masade-Olowola. I'm the Chief Executive of CSR in Action. And CSR in Action is helping to drive what Elizabeth has called, a forward-thinking initiative of our time. And so today, I think that obviously it's a good thing to start the conversation around why we should be doing this in the first place. I mean, what's the business case for a sustainability driver in this telecom and technology sector? Because the interesting thing is, I was having a discussion with my colleague who helped to put together this webinar, and she struggled with a business case for sustainability. So she said, but why? Okay, so even if as a company decides in whatever field, say for instance, a company that uses plastics, why would they want to invest in innovation to, take care of the plastics and all of that? And you know what, for me, I've said to her, the summary is that sustainability is in the little things. So basically, a common belief about sustainability in businesses usually surrounds the fact that costs outweigh the benefits. So from a social outlook, there's a growing interest in sustainability around the world. And what this means is that there's a growing interest as well for investors, because within sustainability are the ESG principles, economic, social, and governance principles, which look at how organizations engage their staff, their customers, their communities, the government, business dealers, the environment, the board, and even their finance. And all of these investors are interested in, and that's what is referred to these days as dual materiality, the fact that the materiality is not just related to finances, but it's actually related as well to how you deal with your stakeholder. And I think that therein lies the intrinsic value of sustainability, because a company cannot, the popular saying around here is no man is an island and no company is an island. So this is why we launched CSR in Action, our Corporate Sustainable Investor Report, a document which basically gives investors a look into how different organizations imbibe best practices that in turn affect how their brands are perceived, because we all know the importance of perception. But what sustainability does is that it goes beyond perception and it delves deep into culture, delves deep into governance, it delves into systems in order that there is substance to perception, because perception can only go so far, even though it's important. Fortunately, TTSWG not only advances or seeks to advance sustainability practices within the ICT sector, but it would allow opportunity for mentorship for budding organizations. So the big businesses have the opportunity to mentor budding organizations who may be interested in the notion of long-term business, but have no idea how to incorporate sustainability to learn, leverage, and contribute to national development. Companies must seek to have legacies, and that is what sustainability offers you. It showcases you to also as a brand that can be trusted, one that has the best interests for every party. Now, viewing any business or your business through a sustainability lens helps paint a picture of a better company, one that's responsible and responsive to employees, to customers, and the society in general. People want to work for companies like that, especially when you talk about the famous generations Y and Z, who are a lot more in tune with what they want. And these are the staff of the future. What do you do to engage and retain resources, human resources that are crucial for business growth? There's little wonder why big ICT firms like Microsoft or Apple can boast of existing for over 40 years. A friend recently shared with me how Microsoft carted away a good number of sustainability awards that you could think about in the US. And the ICT sector, the good thing about this conversation is that the ICT sector has presented itself from time immemorial as forward-thinking, and I trust that it can only advance upwards from here, particularly in Nigeria. Now, for the ICT sector to drive sustainability practices, there's need to continue to come up with products that promote innovation, innovative products that are designed to meet environmental standards and possibly offer new opportunities to the public. The sector does not need to wait for guidance from any regulator or government agency. Businesses within the sector have a responsibility to themselves. I even say selfish responsibility to themselves to do what is best practice, because it does benefit you in the long term. You need to learn to adapt to best practices such as more inclusive stakeholder engagement across your supply chain, the use of responsible infrastructural equipment, and investment in the necessary research to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. It's worthy to note that the gains attached to sustainability do not only affect private profit-making organizations, as a lot has to do with the sourcing of equipment, products, and services. And all of these are reliant on government policies, on financial incentives, and supportive regulation. What am I trying to say? I'm trying to say that this cannot be achieved by businesses alone. The government, consumers, every other key stakeholder has a role to play for us to contribute to the drive for national and global sustainability. Now, I think that this group, TTSWG, is a key stakeholder group for the purpose of effectiveness, which I think is laudable. So well done to the premier members of this organization. Public-private partnerships are a proven means of increasing access to infrastructure in remote or underserved regions, as is collaboration amongst the different companies. So I think that it's a great thing that the TTSWG gives a platform and access to partner with relevant government agencies such as NITDA and NCC, the Nigerian Communications Commission. And I think that there's a chance, there's a strong opportunity to be an agent of change. We will continue re-emphasizing the essence of sustainability and continue to work towards it with the TTSWG until we see the desired change. I repeat again, no man is an island. And in this case, no organization is an island. And a sign of effectiveness in anything is the ability to bring more people on board. In order to avoid being ineffective as a group, as a sector, we encourage you, who's a part of this group, you who may know people who need to be a part of this group, to join in to drive this sustainability train. Ladies and gentlemen, as we would say in secondary school, I hope I've been able to convince and not confuse you as to why we need to drive sustainability, not just in every sector, but in this critical sector that is technology and telecommunications. Thank you once again for joining us today. And I look forward to you getting opportunities to learn and to grow from the experts who we have on board. Thank you.
Wow, thank you, Bekeme. That was a great speech on, the business case for a sustainability driver. That was really convincing. I can assure you that I'm convinced. I'm sure that a lot of other people on this call are convinced and really want to, know how, and what they can do to be part of the change, really. So on that note, we'll be moving on to more on the TTSWG. My colleague Dami Vera Cruz will be leading this session, and I hand the stage over to him. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tari. Thank you everyone for joining. Thank you everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you that you made the time to be here today. I'm really grateful, or we are all grateful that you could be here today as well. So I will just actually try to share my screen so I can actually tell you what the TTSWG is about, for those of us wondering what it is. I know it can be very daunting sometimes when you hear, oh, this group and that group, but we are here to push for change, and we are here to actually chase the direction for sustainability within the telecommunication and technology sector as well. So pardon me while I share my screen as well. Okay, thank you. So really, what is the Telecommunications and Technology Sustainability Working Group? So definitely, and as we all know, in recent times, technology has brought us, and technology and the telecom sector has brought us closer in this time of connecting businesses and processing information around the globe. We know that, during this last 2020, with the advent of COVID-19, we realized that technology and telecommunications played a major role in connecting us all together. It was because of technology, and it is because of technology we are able to have this meeting and this webinar right now. It is because of technology and telecommunications that we're able to connect with everyone in their various locations in Lagos, in Abuja, in all their locations, to communicate and preach and talk about this message of collaboration within the ICT sector as well. But however, we all realize that ICT sector, the information and communication sector, is not immune to the numerous factors influencing the business landscape. One of it, which is climate change. We talk about human rights. You talk about the various things, child labor, and these are all the sustainability and sustainable business practices that have to be embedded in all major business operations as well. And in sustainability, like Bekeme had said, it's not just preaching about it, but it's having to implement it into your business operations. And that's the business case for that. Why would this be needed? Why do I need to do this within my organization? And according to research as well, the emissions generated by the sector is experiencing an upward trajectory, with developing countries such as Nigeria being the major contributors. And I was actually having a conversation with someone a few days ago, and actually explaining that things have changed so much, and especially because of the climate we work in, especially where we are in Nigeria, where we have electricity, and we are not very having constant electricity, but yet your business has to move forward. And the ICT sector, I know some terminology like the base stations, your office, your HQ, you need to be able to have electricity to power. And therefore, because there's no electricity or there's no other source of power, you might end up running your non-renewable sources of energy, your generators, diesel, petrol, having to run these things for hours on end, contributing to climate change. But time has come now to actually invest in infrastructure that would help change the narrative for the ICC sector as well. And that is why the Telecommunications and Technology Sustainability Working Group was formed, and it actually is a collaborative effort aimed at yielding joint action among key telecommunications and technology stakeholders through various strategic partnerships, policy formulation, events, and programs, and one of which you are all attending today, which once again I must thank you for this. And this group is coming together to address the various national issues by mobilizing human and material capital available to stakeholders in the focused sector to ensure sustainable practices that benefit the sector and the country at large. We are trying to ensure that our resources are available for the coming generation as well. And so what is our vision? Our vision really at TTSWG is to champion a sustainable and profitable telecoms and technology sector for national development. Yes, people have, like Beckham rightly said, what is the business case? How do I want to chase sustainability and also make profit? It actually is key. Because when you engage with your stakeholders and you know what they need and you know what they want, and you can address it in a sustainable manner, you can actually achieve profit, because your customers to a certain point are the ones who actually drive most of your profit, and some of them might be your investors as well. And what our mission is for ingraining sustainability systems in the telecoms and technology sector through capacity building, standard setting, and associating, because this is what it is. We have to come together and build a business case and build a business operation that is fully sustainable. And we can come 100 years from now and boast that our companies, both international and indigenous, have been here and have been existing for the past 100 years, and we are still growing strong. And that is what we want to achieve in the long run. So one of our objectives, or some of our objectives, include to prefer sustainable solutions to various economic, governance, social, environmental challenges in the sector. We like to provide an innovative platform to engage stakeholders in the sectors. I also want to position each industry as sustainability-focused industries, and also encourage collective action among stakeholders in the sector. When we all come together, which is what this theme, what we're talking about today, collaboration for a resilient ICC sector. This is where we come together. We can work together to achieve certain things that not one company can do, but we come together as a whole to achieve these things. And obviously, we all know our key stakeholders. We ranges from our organizations to other organizations, to the government, to the academia, NGOs, and media. All of you here in this meeting today are our stakeholders. And once again, I want to use this opportunity to really thank you for taking the time today to join us at this event as we discuss these things and prefer solutions to the growth of this sector, to bring us closer together and connect us more in the coming years, and we'll be able to stand strong with other companies globally. We always complain, oh, Nigeria, our network is this, our network is that, but we are getting there, and it's just through this sustainability working group that we can actually drive this change and change this narrative to ensure that Nigeria becomes on the map of ICC sector globally as well. And this is our alignment with the SDGs. We want to ensure that there's decent work and economic growth, and we want to ensure industry, innovation, and infrastructure. These are the things that we are targeting. Sustainable cities and communities, responsible consumption and production, climate action, and once and for all, and one of the most important SDGs of all, is partnership for the goals. Without the 17, without the partnership, we cannot achieve all these other goals, and which is why this working group has come together to ensure that we can achieve this, both for our individual organizations and for the nation as a whole. And we have various focus areas, which is through standards formulation, solution enhancement, and advocacy as well. So through standards formulation, we want to ensure that there may be standards that would help us monitor and evaluate all the activities of the players within the ICC sector. We come together to ensure that everything is working as we want it to be. There's something that is there driving our sustainability activities, and we're not just chasing cloud, but we are actually chasing a dream and a vision as well. We also want to prefer solution enhancement, actually through leading practices, peer learning, and skill and knowledge enhancement through various partnerships. And we want to work with principles such as the United Nations Global Compact, the Global Reporting Initiative in Amsterdam. We have the International Finance Corporation, the World Economic Forums, which are leading organizations for pushing the agenda of sustainability globally. And once we can work together with these organizations as well, we can change the narrative here in Nigeria as a whole. And obviously, the telecommunications and this ICC sector cannot function without innovation. Innovation is one of the key terms that is driving the ICC sector, and we want to push this through thought leadership, sector-specific sustainability research, case studies, publications, collaborative partnerships, communications, and outreaches as well. And right now, some of the members include Alton, MTN, and we have IBM, we have Vodacom, we have Natcom Technologies, Royal Power, IHS, we have Main One, Airtel, System Specs, and Zenith. These are the current members, and kudos to these organizations for starting this journey to changing the narrative of the ICC sector in Nigeria. But if you would like to be part of this membership and you would like to join, it is very much open. And if you're within the sector and you're part of the stakeholders and you would like to join, please, we welcome you. We just have some certain conditions, meaning that you must be legally and operationally independent, and you must be represented in the TTSWG by a chief executive officer or a board level representative with overall responsibility for sustainable development. But meanwhile, we understand that the CEO or the managing director may not have all the time in the world to be a part of maybe various meetings and engagement that we may have, and therefore they would nominate a liaison delegate to manage the relationship with the TTSWG and ensure optimum benefit and engagement of the member organization as well. And you must be willing to be actively involved with the TTSWG work program, making yourself available for anything that you may wish. If you have any questions as well, this is a platform that would help you for that. And you may strive for consistency in your advocacy, You must actively support the objectives and the work plan of the TTSWG as approved by the board of the TTSWG. And maybe not now, but you must be aiming to publish your sustainability reports annually. And obviously, by the time you join, there will be capacity building when that time comes and as the group expands as well. And you must have to also agree to have your sustainability report reviewed and benchmarked by the TTSWG via a confidential process using transparent and objective criteria. And also, if you want to leave, so it is not like you have to be there, but if you want to leave, maybe due to certain reasons, internal reasons or compliance reasons, you just have to provide a notice of decision to withdraw, ultimately 45 calendar days before the end of the calendar year, and with membership resignation taking effect the following year as well. So some of the benefits. So you might ask yourself, why do I need to join the TTSWG? Wherever you are, you must be asking yourself, why do I need to join? I'm already a member of this, I'm a member of that. The reason is that you have access to networking opportunities with other industry players, regulators, and key industry decision makers to change the narrative and discuss majorly on activities of sustainability. You may be a part of other organizations, but this is tailored and this is focused on sustainability, ensuring sustainable business practices. You have the opportunity to share technical resources and to drive innovation and business sustainability. You have access to a large pool of resources which the sector players can use to solving national challenges. Your alignment of the organization's business model and practices with international standards from sustainability lens, an opportunity to define the sustainability direction of the sector. If you join now, you can actually start this journey to define the direction of the sector. And this is something that you can work, your organizations can be proud of, to say that, yes, we're part of the pioneer organizations to join this sector to move, or this group to move the sustainability narrative forward. And also the improved sustainability performance in the organization. This is one of the things that you may work to, and this is one of the business cases, like Bekeme was mentioning, that these are the things that you work with. And if you join this working group, yes, some people argue, oh, we do not have a sustainability department, we don't have. Still go ahead to join. This is where you will learn what you need to do to go ahead to chase your sustainability. And with joining this TTSWG, you can begin to say yes, that yes, we are beginning to change our narrative as an organization in the sustainability, and now we are members of the technology and telecoms and technology sustainability working group. So this is one of the membership benefits that it may be applicable to you. And if you wish to join, and you can just reach out to us. I will leave this on the screen for a few minutes. You can go to our website, www.ttswg.org. That's www.ttswg.org. Or you can follow us on our Instagram and LinkedIn handles at TTSWG as well. Or you can contact us, any of us, at the secretariat, which is 0906 263 4111 or 0906 263 4132. or 0906 263 4122. After which you contact us, you've answered all your questions. If you may have any questions, all you just have to do at this point is just to fill out the membership form with your details and your contact person's details, the CEO and the primary contact person, and then you receive a TTSWG membership pack. And at this time, there is no financial commitment. Many people will be thinking now, so what am I going to be paying to join? At this time, there is no financial commitment. However, it will be developed as we go along and as the group becomes bigger. But if you join now, you can be part of the discourse to actually determine the level of financial commitment as well. You can make that decision like, okay, this is what to pay for us, and you can be part of that discussion. So at this point, I would just say thank you very much, for listening to this. And I'm hoping that I'll leave this other screen so you can maybe take notes of the phone numbers. I will leave this screen on, and I really appreciate that you can reach out to us. You can reach out to us on these numbers, and once you reach out to us, we'll share with you the membership form as well. We'll definitely email it to you, so you can definitely reach out to us. Just call us or send a WhatsApp message on this number, and we'll definitely reach out to you as well. So thank you very much, for listening to this, and I'm hoping that all of you who are here and stakeholders and want to be part of this will be part of it. Thank you so much again once more, and I'll take it off. I'll leave it up for Tyree to continue the discussions as well.
Thank you, Dami. That was an amazing presentation on TTSWG. I know a lot of people in the audience, would want to get more information about the TTSWG and information about how to join and all of that. So thank you for providing all of that information. Now we definitely have, a clearer picture of exactly what TTSWG is, and we look forward to getting new members on board. So at this point, we'll dive straight into the webinar. I'll be giving a brief introduction to the webinar, and we'll be going from there into the introduction of the speakers. And from the introduction of the speakers, the panel session will begin. And I know that's what a lot of us are itching for, and we'll definitely get to that in a minute or two. So looking at so for the introduction to the webinar, over the past 15 months, we've seen how the global pandemic has accelerated many processes already in progress. The rapid adaptation of digital technologies has been necessary to keep people working through the lockdown while supporting more flexible working hours and making it easier to keep in touch. It has also exposed and exacerbated gaps that already existed, with vulnerable populations living without reliable access to information, communication, and technology infrastructure being left even further behind. The pandemic has highlighted the need to support context-specific collaboration, investment, infrastructure, inclusive labor policy, skills training, market access to enable innovation stakeholders in their efforts to build more resilient ecosystems. ICT has become the backbone of business, government, and personal lives, and automation has made many businesses to be more profitable, efficient, safer, and environmentally friendly. Now, Dami and Bekeme talked a little bit about collaboration and how collaboration is important, and so hence the theme for our webinar. Collaboration for a resilient ICT sector. The pandemic has done a number on us all. The ICT sector has stepped in, and given us things like Zoom that we're on right now, giving us Teams, giving us all different innovations that we've used to help make our lives better. And so, looking at a post-COVID world, what will, the ICT sector look like, and how will it help support work life and life in general? So we'll be looking at those different topics in the webinar. So I'll just run through some of the what we hope to get out of this webinar. We hope to encourage healthy competition and cooperation among stakeholders in the sector, stimulate thoughts of a viable response to the various challenges faced within the sector, to present the TTSWG as an innovative platform to engage and develop stakeholders in the sector. So the webinar will start off with, I'll introduce the moderator and I'll introduce the panelists, and we'll give them about 30 minutes to answer various questions that will drive the conversation, and then we'll move on to a Q&A session. So if you have any questions, feel free to just put them in the comment section, or and then we'll get to the questions after the panel discussion. So for now, I will start with the introduction of the panelists. Okay, so our moderator this morning, I'll introduce our moderator. Our moderator is Dr. Wumi Hassan. She's the President, CEO of High Tech Center for Nigerian Women and Youth. Dr. Wumi Hassan is an IT professional par excellence. She evaluated the Nigeria's information technology policy of 2001 in her PhD research, with her results as a major input to the reform and convergence of the major ICT institutions in the country, thereby culminating into a communications technology ministry in Nigeria today. She is the founder and national coordinator of the Women's and Youth IT Capacity Building Center, with expertise in development for nation building. She has worked on interventions and skills development in ICTs that translates the public policy into implementation using ICT tools. Welcome, Dr. Hassan.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. It's nice being here.
Good morning. All right, so she'll be our moderator, and I will go straight into our panelists. So our first panelist will be Dr. Aminu Lawal. Okay, I'm not entirely sure Dr. Aminu Lawal is on here, but I will go ahead and introduce our next panelist. Our panelist, Mr. Chris Uwaje. He's the chairman of the Mobile Software Solutions Ltd. Mr. Chris Uwaje is acclaimed as the pioneer of the National Information Technology Policy for Nigeria, which created the National IT Development Agency. He's a founding member and fellow of Nigeria Computer Society. He's also a co-founder, past president, and fellow of the Institute of Software Practitioners of Nigeria. Mr. Uwaje is the originator of National Information Technology Merit Award. He's a founding member of Africa Emergency Technology Response Forum. Welcome, Mr. Uwaje.
Thank you very much. Very happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So our next panelist is Ms. Eno Udoma Eniang. She's the chairman, Legal and Regulatory Committee, Alton. Eno Udoma Eniang is a seasoned legal professional and charter mediator with an MBA from Wales University, Cardiff, having earlier attended the Nigerian and Ghana law schools and consequently admitted to practice law in both countries. She has worked as a legal practitioner in both jurisdictions for close to 3 decades, with experience in various sectors, including banking and finance, infrastructure, and telecommunications. She has been in the telecommunications sector for 17 years and currently chairs the Legal and Regulatory Committee of the Association of Licensed Telecommunications Operators of Nigeria, ALTIN, which is the industry body for the mobile networks operators in Nigeria. Due to time, I'll just move on. Ms. Udoma Eniang, you're welcome.
Thank you very much. I'm very happy to be here.
Welcome, welcome. All right, so I'll move on to our next panelist. We have Mr. Deremi Atanda. He is the Executive Director, System Specs. Mr. Deremi Atanda currently manages the entire payments business of System Specs, which is led by the iconic Remita brand, an experienced software and financial technology industry professional. He has been involved in the conceptualization and implementation of numerous strategic national and industry initiatives over the past 25 years. In 2006, he led the vibrant team that delivered in 6 months the very successful tech-driven integrated payroll and personnel information system, IPPIS, of the federal government of Nigeria, which has now become a model for other large public sector projects. So just to save time, I'll just welcome Mr. Atanda. Mr. Atanda, are you there?
Thank you very much. Good morning.
Good morning, you're welcome. All right, so at this point, I would like to hand over to our moderator, Dr. Wumi Hassan, so we can begin our panel discussion. Thank you for being here, everyone.
Thank you so much, Tarire, for the beautiful time we have had. And I want to welcome all my panelists and all the attendees from all over the country and indeed all over the world, because I could see some people are coming in from outside Nigeria. I want to believe that the introductions we had given us a great insight to why we are doing what we are doing now. And I really want to appreciate everybody one more time on behalf of the host for joining us today. And I really hope that we had a great time, and I'm sure you will. With the crop of the panelists I have this morning, I'm sure we're going to have a very wonderful deliberation. So join me to welcome the first panelist, Madam Eno Udoma Enyang, who is going to be speaking to us briefly on looking at the COVID-19 and the different impacts of the relevance of how powerful ICT can become in changing the narrative of what we have now. I want to ask you, Madam, what do you think could be some of the key solutions that ICT can provide to help us to ease this disruption, what we call the new normal of today? Over to you, Madam Eno. Please, you can unmute yourself. Yes.
Yes, I have. Thank you very much, Dr. Hassan. In view of the changes that have resulted from COVID-19, as we're all aware, a lot more now must be done virtually. Therefore, the ICT service providers, they need to carry out what I have coined the 3 R's: re-evolving, reinventing, and repositioning.
Wow.
For instance,
I want to believe you should repeat that for somebody to want to write.
We need to re-evolve. So the 3 R's: re-evolving, reinventing, and repositioning. Okay. So the reason why I'm saying this is, for instance, in telecommunications, for telecommunications operators, we would have to move from being centrally traditional voice communications and network backbone providers to being innovative solution providers ourselves. Consequently, operators should be looking more at provisions around cloud solutions, network virtualization services, that's for core systems, software-defined networks for transport, and also anxiously waiting for the 5G takeoff and all the capabilities that flow with that. Having mentioned that, I must say that there are already quite a few partnerships to push various digital and virtual solutions. For instance, Nine Mobile recently launched what is called the Mobi Health Scheme in conjunction with some group of doctors in Kano to provide virtual Medicare for the period of the pandemic. And I'm also aware that other operators have also produced several innovative ideas. And of course, these solutions totally remove the huge logistics costs of obtaining the same service traditionally. I mean, for instance, if I want to consult with my doctor in America, nowadays, I don't necessarily, with telemedicine, I don't need to travel to America to do this consultation. You also have solutions within the judicial sector. So before, if I had an appeal in the Supreme Court and I'm in Lagos, I have to travel all the way to Abuja. But with this virtual, although it hasn't fully caught on because it's only probably like Lagos and Abuja where this is even heard of at all. But that needs to be, the new norm. We also have digital libraries. In the agriculture sector, the government is focusing heavily on agriculture now. I'm talking about food sustainability. So agro-tech is another area where we require solutions, logistics, payment systems, and I mean, the list is unending. There's a lot of support requirements in all sectors. And of course, digitization is the key.
Thank you so much. That's very interesting. When you were beginning to talk about the payment system and logistics, I quickly want to say, I'm happy that Mr. Atonda is in the house, and I'm sure, yes, as is being introduced already, he's actually one of those solution givers. And we want to celebrate what System Spec is doing actually. And let me welcome Mr. Atonda to give a voice on what is happening to this new normal. Now we heard about, yes,
able to do in the last 30 years of our existence as a Nigerian company, 100%. And I want to thank Enotu for leading the discussion. And when she mentioned our 3 R's, something just crossed my mind, because in Nigeria today, people know RRR is synonymous with Remita products. So I just said, oh, she's talking about Remita RRR, and the point is well taken about re-evolving, reinventing, and repositioning. And since we're talking about collaboration for resilient ICT sector, what just comes to my mind within this context is, why are we even talking about resilience? Why are we talking about resilience at all? We're talking about the superstructure that holds the fabric of society. And we put it within context. That's no longer an option, that ICT is that superstructure that holds the fabric of society together. The governed, the government itself, local and international. And so it's quite important that we put things within perspective. And what happened? COVID only tested that. COVID tested this fabric, which has shifted from physical engagement to become technology. And I'm sure during the course of this conversation, we'll be talking about how critical we think technology is to continuity. So within that context, I see it as all positive for Nigeria, if only we'll turn conversations like these to action. And that's why I'm happy that TTSWG has defined upfront that it's an action-led initiative. It's not going to be all about talk. So my expectation is at the end of today for participants to be clear-minded about what steps are we going to take to collaborate for a resilient ICT sector. So nobody should think he or she is out of it. At the end of the day, if the ICT sector isn't resilient, we all become victims, either the service providers or the service consumers. Having said that, one major area I believe has been challenged due to the interruption of COVID is governance itself. And many of us may remember at the height of it, almost 70% of the federal government workforce and the state government workforce were told to go home and stay home, some of them in excess of 6 months. The question is, what happened to governance? What happened to service delivery? Could we have done anything better? If we couldn't, what opportunity do we have to redefine governance, leveraging ICT? And something easy comes to mind when we're talking about solutions and things we could have done, even though we mentioned payment, that within our local context as Nigeria, is this an opportunity to redefine governance, where 60 to 70% of people working for government can continue service delivery from wherever they might find themselves? How can we within the telecoms and ICT sector become the pivot to make this happen? What collaboration do we need to put in place? Of course, there was capacity, and we'll need to speak to that. And because I think the moderator is muted.
Well, I'm not muted. I'm actually trying to say to you that that's actually the next point because immediately you mentioned governance. The question that came to my mind is what you just raised. And then the question of local usage of IT. We say ICT is the enabler, ICT is this. So how do we define it to the local person, to whoever in Nigeria, either in governance, in business, and we're talking about collaboration. How do I get that to anybody, the streets of the country? And of course, starting with governance actually, because if the staff are at home, recently one of the chief executives was chatting with me and telling me, many of my staff are not coming to work and I had to do everything. And yet I had to pay their salaries even when they are doing nothing, So again, that's a big issue. Even with our capacity building, I think you need to look into that before Madam Eno will put her own word to that. Please take it off from there, Mr. Atonda.
Right, thank you very much. This is one of the platforms to make those things. Things don't happen by chance except you plan for them. And since we're talking about resilience, we need to know the things we need to do. You need to anticipate that things will happen. Even acts of God, you can plan against that. That's why you have insurance. You anticipate, You prepare, you test, you execute, and you continue that cycle. So if you're talking about the man on the street, it must start from conversations like this, that at the end of the day, we're all connected. The man on the street doesn't have an option anymore from being excluded from the technology footprint. The man on the street is the average person. So the common man that would typically say is technology connected. That phone in his hand has become the tool for survival, either to access service or to provide service. And so taking it down, conversations like this, like the dimensions of partnership, is taking things to government on the platform of policy support. What do we see from this side? How can our suggestions and thoughts inform what government may want to do differently? And that's where the collaboration starts. And that in itself provides opportunity for the private sector to thrive. And in thriving, we then are able to achieve the sustainability goals, which Bekeme spoke to earlier, and Tarere. And that's the whole idea. Sustainability is about everyone, the people, the planet, and profit. So there's an interconnectedness, because the man on the street wants to survive in a peaceable environment and at the same time do business profitably. So policy conversations, advocacy like this, and putting solutions out there. And one of the things I would love to see as an outcome is how can we progress this, that as a minimum, people on this call today will better understand the issue of sustainability and how we can advance that to the level of national policies and extend it to the kind of solutions that we'll begin to put up to address the common man on the street. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. You have actually mentioned some critical points. I'm not going to belabor it for now, but I would want us to listen to Madam Eno, because I want you to note, because I'm coming back to you later, Mr. Atunda, where you mentioned the anticipated issues and how we need to test and plan for all of these tools to be effective for the Nigerian community. Policy support is a big issue. You have just mentioned it. I really hope that somebody from maybe I don't know if our speaker DigiNet that will be on ground, but notwithstanding, we need to look critically about some of this issue. Madam Eno, I'm sure you have something to say about how do we make sure that this ICT as a critical tool is helping this enabling factor of sustainability.
Yeah, I have a lot to say, but I wouldn't say that I have to say. But just to say that since I have inadvertently or unintentionally advertised for Remita, I would send my bill. Yeah, I mean, it's a no-brainer that a lot of companies are now re-engineering to hybrid work structures. Apart from all the current safety concerns, the situation has brought about the realization that it's much cheaper even for organizations to have their employees work from home. Not to talk of the convenience, especially in our city like Lagos. I'm sure on the average, workers commuted for about 4 hours daily. Therefore, it's looking more like the future is going to require less and less of physical work and meet. So of course, this has bumped up the requirement for digital services to support virtual work. So without strengthening the ICT sector, the economy obviously will be doomed. The government recognizes this to an extent and obviously has launched the National Broadband Plan, the Digital Economy Policy, and so on and so forth, with a view to focus on accelerating improvements in areas of digital infrastructure, platforms, financial services, entrepreneurship, and skills. And, like speakers before said, if you didn't have the digital space, we won't have platforms like Zoom, and we'll probably not be able to have this engagement. So there's no argument to the point that definitely ICT is very critical. And of course, more so, the costs. I think the first thing is, yes, ICT is important, but technology operations cost a lot of money, even more so in Nigeria. So these businesses need to be assisted, going back to policy and government. So we have to have not just appropriate policy interventions. I mean, I've mentioned some of the policy interventions, but, and of course, we need additional policy interventions around funding, around security, around taxes. And, you know, there are at least about 41 taxes that telecoms sector operators need to bear, not to talk of the illegal demands and regulatory fees. There are also multiple regulators. You know, I really hoped that the DG would have been here, but I'll say this anyway, because this was a point that I thought he could take home and address. There's a NIDA bill, a NIDA Act Amendment bill currently undergoing review, which proposes a 1% annual operating levy to be paid to NIDA by operators with a turnover of a certain amount. I mean, if this bill is passed, that means that operators will start paying AOL to both NIDA and to NCC. So you can see where we are. So the government really needs to ensure that those supporting business continuity for others have sustainable businesses themselves.
Thank you so,
that would be my
much.
Contribution.
Very interesting contribution you have already had there. Thank you so much, ma'am. Let me quickly call on our own Oracle, our father in the industry, Chris Uwaje, who is already here with us. Discussion. Sir, you are welcome. I want to let you talk to us about the collaborations within and across this ICT. I'm sure you've listened so well to Mr. Atonda and Madam Eno. And then I want you to talk a little to us about the collaborations that we have within the ICT industry as a driver for this socioeconomic development and sustainability we're looking at. Remember, and listen carefully, I'm sure you heard Mrs. Eno just concluding on the taxes, on the policy issues. How do you think as partners, as industry players, these collaborations can work within and across different sectors? You know, telecoms, IT, services.
Thank you very much, Dr. Hassan, and thank you, Eno and Atonda, my friend. You guys have spoken well, and of course, we continue to look at the key words: collaboration, resilience, and ICT. I think I probably want to go into another dimension because collaboration has a multi-facet structure. And since Atonda has mentioned or alluded and proposed a superstructure, which is missing currently, we all agree. A superstructure for creating a sustainable ICT sector is currently missing. And being that as it may, within that context, we need to really, first of all, redefine what is the core competence of ICT for Nigerians in Nigeria. Telecoms is there. Software is there. Soft skills are. But you find out that your core competence really, when you look at the enabling laws and policy, the core competence which we know is software enabled. But Nigeria today does not have a national policy on software enablement. So if an investor wants to invest in the country and comes in and says, oh, I want to invest in software, what's your policy? It's about a zero-sum game. So we are pursuing, and those in telecoms who are our friends also will tell you they run to the cargo shops, they run to the terminals, they run to the ports to clear goods. 90+% of what they clear are not created here, are not made by us. We don't have that core competence to do. But the reverse is about what we have seen through Remitter. That we can really, technology is misdefined. We need to be able to ensure that technology is the man who creates the product through concept, process, and of course, innovation. So what I'm saying is that example has existed, which I call the Soludo Convergence and Collaborative Strategy. As governor of Central Bank, he collapsed with good faith 83 banks into 25 banks. And those are the too big to fail resilient structures that has to be put in there. And the same measurement, by the same measurement, if you look at the revenue generator or the capital background of our ICT sector compared to the international forum, then automatically we really don't have an ICT sector. Because I know that small scale industry is defined in the US, from upwards of $250 million. We don't have that. So what I'm saying is that there has, for resilience and collaboration to happen, there has to be a deliberate, incentivized national policy to collapse the over 600 or 6,000 both innovation hubs and ours not, collapse them in good faith into about a critical mass of too big to fail 20 ICT companies. And of course, you would want to say, oh, what happened to the IP? I mean, if you want to take the bull by the horn, this is a nation of 210 million people, and by 2050, we are talking about 403 million, according to statistics that are available. How are we going to manage infrastructure? How are we going to manage transportation? How are we going to manage education? All these are data-driven, big data, quantum computing that are going AI, IoT. And of course, people are raising to the moon. Have you seen a black man out there? We should be the leader. And software, of course, for the moon, according to NASA, for space generation, software is the ultimate driver. Without it, you don't get there into your trajectory. So what we are saying really is that while appealing and begging, we demand that Nigeria should define her core competence and focus on that core competence. Facebook does not build satellite. He buys them. He buys them. Microsoft does not build satellite. He has hundreds of them. He buys them through the intellect that has been developed, through the knowledge behind the technology itself, the core competence. That's where this resilience and the continuity of the resilience comes in and collaboratively. So what I'm saying is that we should be able to refocus not only our policy, but of course our strategy. The national strategy going forward in ICT in the next 20, 30, 50 years cannot bail us out.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. I'm sure the key points you have mentioned is about the strategies. And I'm sure you are aware that quite a lot of strategies are existing in so many documents. We'll go to that later on. But I think at this point, I would like to quickly ask my brother, Mr. Atonda, again, to take us through issues around this innovation that Mr. Chris Iwaje just mentioned, and some of the success stories that we already have, like he said, in software and in other, sectorial areas. How do we scale them up? How do we firm it up? Because I think to enhance the collaboration, we must understand what exactly exists. You see, a lot of times I quite hear what the last speaker just said across the industry, and I ask myself a question: where are they? Where are they? How do we see them? How do we know who is doing what? How do we put this together and get a scale up for the country? I mean, if we are talking about people should take what the software is, can we have a list of what the software is? And I'm sure Madam Eno is here, who is my legal person. So please, sir, can you help us to discuss how do we harness these success stories together? How do we scale them up to make it helpful for the business setup of Nigeria? Mr. Atonda, please take that up for us. Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much. And that is a really interesting thing. And I will not stop saying thank you to the founders or the visionaries of TTSWG, because this is one of the things at the heart of the question you just asked. Someone must take responsibility. And many times we call on government, but government is government. You must be able to pin these things down to someone. And for TTSWG to do this, and by the objectives that was shared earlier, it is clear this is one of the objectives. Sometimes you don't even know what you have. If you don't know what you have, you can't value it. But once you realize it's a value point, which may be a blind spot at times, let's be honest with ourselves, not everybody will see everything. For those who see it, they therefore have a responsibility to help others to see. But unfortunately, over time, we have all tried to play silo games. I want it all for myself. I think if I'm the only one who sees the opportunity and I go for it, then I'm going to have the world. And that's why I believe this conversation is important, since we're talking about collaboration. Nobody can ever win it all. It's impossible. And I think that was part of the introduction to this session. You can't exist alone. And we also realize we're talking about sustainability. It's into the long term, surviving air, and into the future without jeopardizing the future. And typical of that philosophical African saying, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go along with others. And that is the foundation I think we are laying. And Dr. Wajay mentioned some critical issues. Where is that picture of a sustainable and resilient ICT sector for Nigeria? Who has painted it? If it doesn't exist, nobody can aspire to it. And so that is one of the things that I believe TTSW exists to do. Let us paint that picture. What are the implications of not having a robust ICT infrastructure, which has become the superstructure? Somebody needs to model it. One of the things we did at the onset of this pandemic, which I alluded to earlier, nobody saw this coming. Immediately we saw it. What was our test case? We got laptops and we subscribed to broadband and we gave to government officials in different states of the federation. You will not hear that in the media. I'm not sure how many people heard that. But go find out the productivity that followed that for those people. Many of them had on-site payroll systems. Many of them had on-site HR systems. They couldn't go to work. That means some services internal were jeopardized. Many of them had service desks they were going to use to attend to customers who were trooping to secretariats. All of a sudden, all of that was shut down and they still needed to offer service. What did we do? We procured laptops at cost as part of sustainability, which was an anchor of our CSR. We put broadband behind it and we said, guess what, government? And we did that across the different geographical sections of this country. And the footprints are there. But the question you therefore ask is, how do we take this narrative out there? We need a common platform. And this is one of those things. And when my profile was being said in 2006, we led the provision of a national payroll platform for this country. The question is, why has nobody talked about it in 15 years? The system specs competed against international global software companies. And you wouldn't see, sometimes we don't even know when we audit ourselves, and that's inclusive of our own company. Once you do that, in the typical African tradition, they say you are blowing your own trumpet. But the honest truth is, if you don't do it, you are either harming yourselves or harming your neighbors who may also benefit. Typically, once you've done it in Nigeria, that gives you leverage that Nigeria can, for free, provide payroll to other African countries. If it works in Nigeria, it will work anywhere. So how come we could not leverage that for economic diplomacy? And that is one of the things I believe, the convergence of technology and telecoms, this platform. And you may be wondering, oh, why is it not part of what other telecom groups are doing? Why is it not part of Alton? This is a convergence. And it is from the viewpoint of sustainability at industry and national level. So there's a case for telling our own stories. And I think Dr. Wajay hinted at that. But we must even know what we want to talk about. If we do not understand that technology is important to move us forward, we will not consider the stories worth telling. We'll be busy talking about fraudsters and other things, and we'll be leaving the narrative to the world. And I can tell you, besides system specs, besides Remita, there are many other super innovations that have come out of here. And you ask yourself, why is it convenient for telcos to go into collaborations with the global big techs to make some brands available for free for phone holders to access? Why couldn't we form a platform, say federal government and all 36 states? During this pandemic, there's going to be a platform that is going to make it easy for anybody involved in government service to access it for free, cost undertaken by ICT and telecom sectors. That is a platform for collaboration for residents. If our government platforms fail, service delivery will be challenged. We're having a health crisis now, as if we have not gone through many rounds of strikes. How did the industry, ICT, prepare for that and offer? We're all victims at the end of the day. Your person is going to be affected. The other person is going to be affected. Can we mobilize skills from diaspora and here as spare capacity who are going to be first responders on ICT and telecom platforms? And all of these things are there for consideration. So we must know that we have what it takes to compete globally. It is clear that aid, no matter how long, will take us to the next level. Afghanistan is a case in point. We owe ourselves that responsibility to build a resilient superstructure. We're talking about data centers and all of that now. So we just must take charge. And at the end of the day, I look forward to a listing of 5-10 ICT telecoms collaborations or solutions that are national centric, that have been put in place that we begin to speak to. And I think that will do us a world of good. So thank you very much as we take this conversation forward.
Thank you so much. I'm sure you are really eating it there, because like you said, apart from remitter, apart from the IPPS, what else do we know about system spec? What else do we know about so many other organizations? And then what I want to take from that to Madam Eno, Madam Eno, well done, ma'am, is to look into who does what. I know, yes, TTSWG is putting together and trying to say to us, we are ready for it. But aside them, what else can we look forward to? You see, like he said, I remember when I was a student of computer science in the university, one of my professors would enter the class and say, computer science, you are the trumpeters, blow the trumpets. And that has sunk into me from an undergraduate student to now. Any small thing, you don't put it out there, nobody says it for you. And you know, we have, interestingly, we have what we call the IT media personnel. And the question, every time I see their post, I see government, I see NCC, I see NITDA, and I'm asking, are they the only people you should talk to? Are they the only things you should say to the world? Because again, we need to put this into perspective, and the collaboration, because I'm still waiting for one of you to talk to us about who does what. Why do we collaborate with others? The media, TTSWG, for instance, can do a whole lot about what they're doing, but if many people in Lagos don't even know about them, what happens? Not to talk of Abuja, not to talk of my state and some other northern states and here and there. So we need to begin to critically look at what is it that will take us from there, the consequences that business-dependent use of technology might have on the vulnerabilities of our ICT if we are not exploiting it well. Madam, please take it over from there.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Hassan. I think that everything starts from the mind, the will to do something, the mindset, and it becomes the culture. And so, of course, we've started talking about collaboration. It is essential that we collaborate, we've all agreed. And so in our minds, it's registered that we must collaborate. There are existing collaborations anyway, to push the narrative for the sector's good. Is to this end, obviously, that you have an association like Alton, you have ArtCon, you have TTSWG, looking after the sustainability of a telecom sector. Of course, much more collaboration is required, especially in matters of common interest. And of course, sustainability areas where it will be easy. Because generally, what we find is this collaboration when it comes to policy influencing. For instance, I mentioned the issue of NIDA and all that. These are common interest areas. So we've collaborated in areas to do with maybe national identity management and security, critical national infrastructure, trying to push that agenda, issues to do with multiple and illegal taxation, which of course is a very tough issue. We've partnered in infrastructure sharing, in the National Broadband Implementation Projects. But because we are drivers of the 5th Industrial Revolution, there's so much that we can do, and there's a lot of room for collaboration, especially in areas to do with establishment of smart cities, which obviously we need to be looking into as a country. Agriculture is a focus area in the country, so agro-tech. Rural telephony. So I think someone mentioned something about rural footprints. No one is going to go and invest in rural telephony where they feel that they're not going to get they're not going to get any commercial benefits as such. So these are the areas that collaboration can help to drive. Of course, there's a challenge that because sector players are in competition in terms of the services they offer, sometimes it can be tough coming together with one voice on some matters. However, I think that operators know that the sector is stronger together and must collaborate for sustainability because of the interconnectivity. And of course, I trust that through the instrumentality of TTSWG, operators can now even collaborate more, not just to formulate standards like was mentioned earlier, but to identify areas of collaboration in terms of the environment. I mean, one example is operators could decide that, for instance, their head offices are in Victoria Island, most of the head offices are in Ikeja. They can decide to have some impact to do with maybe waste management, just for an example, and determine that they would carry out some joint sanitation exercise on agreed intervals. I mean, these are some of the things that can be done, not just about the technology, but even just in terms of creating the right environment. So I think there's a lot. There's a lot that we look at in terms of collaboration.
So much, Ma. I think beginning, because from what you have just said, we are beginning to become sector specific, and that's very interesting. And that's why, before I would take the last round now, I want Mr. Atonda to talk to us about what they are looking into in terms of climate change adaptation and a bit of some present global issues around ESG, and then all of those gender equity things. Today I'm not a panelist, I'm moderating, so I'm not talking too much about the gender issues, about climate change, about renewable technologies and all of that, because these are issues of sustainability for management, and then for as you see, just a few days ago, my alumni were discussing some challenges back on the university campus. And they said, oh, Dr. Hazan, we should do an app that would help to manage ABCD. And then I was mentioning it to another IT professional. I said, what's our own with that one? And and that's a big issue. When IT people don't see their relevance in all of those sectors, that's a critical challenge. I'm happy that System Spec has been doing a lot, and people are seeing that, in finances. And today, when I talk to people about what we call the financial inclusion, I tell them, who is benefiting from financial inclusion? Are you as an IT person benefiting? But aside finances, how do we manage climate change, renewable technologies, different challenging issues that are coming, and they are posing a challenge to our sustainability? Mr. Atonda, please talk to us before we have Mr. Waje do a final round with us. Thank you. We have a few minutes to go now. Yes. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much. And that was why I said earlier that we will really need to invest a lot more in the whole concept of sustainability. If you're telling a budding business in Nigeria about green gas emission, you're talking about conversion and all of those things, it doesn't know where you're coming from, because there's just not been any exposure. And that's one of the reasons I keep saying, nothing like an idea whose time has come for a platform like this, that the new economy requires that there's a totality of awareness of what all of these things mean. If someone in this part of the world wants to do business and is not even aware of those issues we're describing, you are not positioned and cannot be positioned to be globally competitive because Nigeria is not on its own. So that's the starting point. We need to know the interconnectedness of all of this. And that goes back to the whole idea of the SDG goals, the 17 of them. And the world is talking about the 2030. And you know the penchant we have here in this part of the world for setting targets that nobody intends to meet anyway. That attitude must change. And that is why a platform like this, for those who might be at a tier, and I'm thinking this conversation will need to be tiered. For those who have entered a maturity level where these are issues, while we're doing that, this should also be embedded into the curriculum. Many organizations and at the entrepreneurship level, incubation labs and school curriculum should begin to embed issues of sustainability into what they're teaching. Because without it, those guys you're preparing will just not be globally competitive from day one. While others are talking about the minimum requirements to get into that space, you are just not aware, and so you are disadvantaged. And so part of the issues which you had hinted at has to do with gender, inclusion. It may also interest you to know that that happens to be one of the critical aspects of our CSR. And by investing particularly in the Girls in ICT Initiative and Women in ICT Initiative in Nigeria. And like I said, maybe that has been our own weak point. Many of these things you don't even know we do them, being a 30-year-old company. And annually, we get to invest in that. So for gender inclusion in the ICT space, it happens to be one area. And if you really know super good women and graduates who want to join our team, it's an open invitation. Let them just send to us. So we've been working virtually and remotely for the past 18 months. So there's opportunity for those who are local or international to join our team in the different spaces. And most of the things about the environment will also have to do about the way we operate our offices. For those who know, we moved into a new office and we were there for just 1 month last year until COVID happened, and we've not gone back there because our team has just been working remotely, and some new learnings, adaptation of technology. But built into all of that were issues about energy, about conservation of energy, renewable energy, the use of solar arrays and battery banks, and then you're thinking about recycling those things at the end of life. And so all of those things are things we need to begin to think about. How do we do business today successfully without jeopardizing the future? And for those in the telecoms field, they're much more involved in issues of radiation, issues of disposal of waste, and you know, those general things. But those are things we need to begin to bring to bear for Nigerian ICT businesses to be competitive globally. We need to be aware of this. We need to embed this into operational processes, and we need to have benchmarks. And like I said, I'm not typically given to more talk without evaluation. It would be nice after this to say to ourselves, based on TTSWG, what would we love to see in ICT companies in Nigeria every year over the next 5 years? Great. In terms of gender inclusion, in terms of energy use, in terms of green gas, you know, all of those things. Let's set those targets. Let's begin to work towards them, and let those who have ability begin to support those who don't know the path to chart. And I think together we become stronger. Thank you again.
Thank you so much. I think that's a great summary from your end. And just listening to you, and you mentioned that there is an open invitation. I just remarked to myself, I wish I was much younger, because I remember when I finished my e-service, the only place I actually wanted to work was System Spec, but I wasn't given the opportunity. So no problem.
Never too late. You may just be surprised. Have global plans.
These are the gender issues we are talking about. I wasn't given the opportunity, and then I went back to the university, no space, so I became the space for myself. But that's great to know, sir. So, and then really, we need to look at all those critical points. And before I ask Mr. Waje the last question, I would like to drop it here that quite a lot of people are doing a lot, really, across different sectors of this industry. But like we said, we just hope that after now, we can easily put together who does what and who is doing what and how do they network. And you know, this had been going on and on. And we could, I mean, for instance, my organization, we've been into different things in energy because we are looking at capability development and skills. And so we were able to look into hardware, look into software, see energy, see this. And maybe because of my work life, all of the years in the aerospace area. I was working at a time with the National Energy Commission. So some of these things have opened my own eyes, especially, and I see that we have too much relevance as IT people to be everywhere. In fact, everybody should be working and looking for us. And I hope we will take it off from there. Finally, our own oracle. Daddy, you are welcome one more time. We're talking about intellectual property. See, I won't deceive you. Many people are hiding because they are not protected. They feel they are not safe. How do we see intellectual property as a way of hindering our collaboration or enhancing our collaboration? And I might be, Madam Eno, this is not for you, but you're a lawyer. But so I want to see, how do we manage this? I had a lot of face-off with NOTAP, with so many other, patenting rights organizations. And the question is, how do we bring in the legal practitioners? Because when you talk about cybersecurity, people just feel this for us, IT people alone. I was talking to a group of lawyers recently. I said, this is your work. We need people like you to take interest and become experts to work with us. And then few that are there, how do we manage them to interact with IT people and set a standard that can help people to understand their intellectual property rights and take advantage of patenting and all of those copyright issues? Sir, can you please help us with that?
Thank you very much, Hassan. And once more, let me appreciate the organizers of this webinar, the TTSWG. And I'm sure this is a group that will stand the test of time because they have brought people together. Great minds. Just on climate change, just a drop before the intellectual property. A country of 210 million, 90 million people don't have electricity. 90 million. So how are you going to really start to augment climate change? Just as Akonda has said, yes, to start up, we can put them in the curriculum, but that's a long marathon that we need to run. I've been doing a research recently about our waterways. Water everywhere and no one to drink or no one to utilize. The Nigerian coastal lines, especially Lagos, is the most dredgeless waterfront in the world. Why? Because of the shipwreck. People come here, wreck their ships, and they're there. They're still there. And it's become almost impossible because it requires colossal investment to be able to clear them. I ask you, when last have you seen blue water flowing? So I think the issue about climate change is quite genuine. And we must take it seriously because we need to redefine our environment, first of all. One of my cousins who came in recently, and he was amazed when somebody will say, come out for road, you know Simoto, come out for road. So the guy said, so the pedestrian doesn't have right? This is wrong. So I said, yes, it is, but urban design is faulty because there's no pedestrian access in our road. It's only for big men. My Mercedes is bigger than yours. Those are the mentalities we must fight. If we allow them to sustain, collaboration will always continue to wither. We must be able to create the unionism, the right of the child, the smiles of our people. We look, we walk, and we see it every day. Go to Broad Street, see 100 people. If you are lucky to see 2 people smiling, that's not the country we want. Why is everything so tense? And at the end of the day, if you do the math, almost over 50% of all those great acquisitions are wasting. They are wasting. And that's an industry itself. So what we are saying is that, first of all, the intellectual property rights is about trustworthiness. A country needs to build a resilient trustworthiness framework from governance to the citizen. We're talking about corruption, and always analyze the pyramid of corruption in Nigeria because we hurt ourselves so much. If you do a pyramid on the scale from bottom up, you will say the gate man who probably is at the car park, where 500 cars can be parked, and you can only see 20, and you want to enter, you say, oh God, the car park is full. You say, oh God, it's full, sorry. But the car park is empty. And when you park with 20 naira, you say, oh God, Barka de Sala, oh, Ogami, come, you open the door. So you say it's corrupt at 20 naira as a gate man. Then do the pyramid up, where we have 82% of our national resources are the oil and gas. That is trickling down. With technology we don't control. So the magnitude of that corruption residues, falls down there. So the trust, we need to build trust, and I quite appreciate the moderator talking about the role of the lawyers. In 1992, when I was telling Olisa Bakoba as the president of the Bar Association, there's time for us to do IT for law. He said, well, I'll leave that, I'm a Marine. Today, it has become evident that everybody needs to convert into this portfolio. We don't have any other hope to escape the penury of the 21st century than leveraging on IP for ICT. So how do we leverage on that? And if we start with the convergence, the collaboration, okay? And you could see it really from this angle. I want to see too big to fail companies buying other people. Look at our acquisition in the ICT. It's almost zero. Who's acquiring what? If System Spec has been empowered, they will have probably acquired more than 10 to 50 companies to date and become a mega. And the more you do that, the more you create employment. Out of people from the time of Charles and, even with Ndukwe, we've been talking about this thing, but really, why is it that it's not happening? Is it because it's a failed research country? So I think those are some of the issues. IP is quite important, and on parting, regrettably, there is IP farming and harvesting out of Nigeria. We have seen it. It's happening in the IT industry. It's core endemic in the software ecosystem and payment system. We don't mention this, but there's IP harvesting in this country. We should not be. There's a lot of companies that exist that we don't own, regrettably. So that is why we need that superstructure that need to be collapsed. And the way to do it really is very easy. If you have a company that employs 1,000 Nigerians in the IT industry, okay? 1,000 Nigerians, you are entitled to bid for the projects of maybe 1 billion, 10 billion up. That will make people to come and likewise to be able to come back. The same thing happens with Soludo structure in the banks. So as Atoda said, even these policies, we now have a voice on this platform These policies is not just for government to think about, because government cannot think about everything. There's a lot of things that government did not initiate. ICT policy, for example, telecoms policy, it's not government. It is the private sector who lured government and cajoled and begged them that this is important. So we continue to do that with empirical evidence, and that's why research is also very important. Lastly,
thank you.
I urge you all, for us on this platform, as Atada said, it's not just about talking, but making and doing. Can we please put some priority on this platform to bring boys together for us to build a digital museum for this country where kids can go and play? It's an easy thing. All the gadgets that have failed, from the inception of telecoms to computer to micro, they are there, they are literally all over. Need a space, create them, write the history and knowledge of them. Let parents bring their children. That probably will be a starting point of doing something and doing what we think that we need. Since we don't have some zoos, at least our kids can go and be digitally entertained. Thank you very much. I want to appreciate you.
I actually gave a salute. That's a big salute, sir, to my father and oracle of the industry. Thank you so much for that thoughtful. I put it down, the voice for digital museum. I'm sure some partnerships will come out of this meeting where we can begin to throw it into a basket. What we know exists wherever, can we just drop it somewhere and let there be a database that can be created? This is one of the proposals we've had as an outcome of a research while I was working with science and tech. And then, sir, I can tell you, I'm sure you know that by the grace of God, I've worked on so many policies for so many ministries and departments. And one of the critical things that had come out, which is one area that I have my personal expertise, is awareness. Awareness. Mr. Atonda mentioned it, Madam Eno mentioned it. We are all saying the same thing. This morning, for instance, I saw a post and somebody posted the NITSDA Act, and it was showing some pages on the NITSDA Act on a platform. And the question is, who is even aware, or how many of us have that document called NITSDA Act? If we don't have what the NITSDA Act says, and this issue, Madam Eno mentioned the multiple taxation, and the question is, how do we know? Because when she said the 1%, I smiled. It's not just NITSDA Act that spelled the 1%. I am aware telecoms have the 1%. The Act of Science, Technology, and Innovation says that everybody should give 1%. And when you are designing those policies, which I'm part of those design, I formulate policies, you will see the critical need for those monies that are set aside, like fund, to be able to do risk venture programs for the country, carry out R&Ds that will be good for the country to move forward. But the big question here I have, now that I still do it for ministries, I ask government to, when we talk at this kind of platform, what do we do with the fundings that we have? People are dropping the 1%, either doing it willingly or by force. They are dropping the 1%. At least if you are taking a government job and you need to bid, you need to pay to so many places, as a taxation. So the question we need to critically ask is, what do they do with them? And we really need to pull up this digital museum to be able to ask those questions. If the lawyers are not involved, I love what this budget is. They are just trying to focus on government at the parliament and the budget and the rest of that. We need more budgets to come out to be able to see plans of policies, how well implemented are they. I have been in a fix over time because I'm it also. I want to analyze, but you are our watchdog. People to see into that. And lawyers are very important. The judicial is interesting, but we just don't want to do it the wrong way. So Madam, as we round up 1 minute, and then Mr. Atonda will give us another 1 more minute key point before we entertain more questions, because I'm sure our time is just about 3 more minutes to go. So can we just quickly take a dot into this matter, and then we say thank you to our audience, because we're going to listen to them. Many things are coming already on the platform. Audience are asking a lot of things. So we need to just discuss 1 more minute, ma'am.
Okay, I'm not sure what the question is, but I think I'll just quickly dive into your issue of the tax issues, and because it's very dear to my heart.
Intellectual property generally, yeah.
Oh, you're talking about intellectual property now.
And then all this taxation, how do we connect?
Yes, so I was going to address the tax first, tax issues. You know, you had mentioned the issue of, you are aware of some other taxes. The truth is, I mentioned like 41. I only just highlighted the issue of a new regulator in the space, expecting a 1% payment. So it's a very, I mean, there's a police fund as well. So it's okay to tax. But the point is, when it's now a burden on operators, where every single agency wants to collect 1% of, in a number of cases, even turnover, not even profits. So you have, for companies that have not even made any profits, they want to collect 1%. You know, so I think that it's something for government. There's a lot more money to be made if the industry or the sector is thriving. I mean, look at VAT. Right now, there's the River State went to court because they realized that this is a big bucket, and they cannot just sit down and see the federal government collect VAT. That's just to show you that the taxes that you collect at the end, where businesses are thriving, is much more. So all these contributions to funds without considering the impact on the operators. And let me just quickly throw this very quickly, please. Right now, there are a number of issues that I think are very fundamental. I mean, recently, there have been huge fiber cuts running into billions. We're talking about digital economy and all that. We have fiber cuts running into billions of naira in losses caused by road construction, vandalization, and I mean, it is necessary, even though we should collaborate in the sector, we should also collaborate with government. Government needs to intervene in these matters and ensure that construction companies working for government do not just notify telecoms companies of proposed works, but they take the responsibility to relocate the fibers. I think such relocation is at their instance. I mean, currently operators incur humongous costs relocating cables and fixing cuts, with, of course, the attendant network failure. And then when we're having a webinar like this, some people are going in and out. Some people can't even connect. It's not because the operator doesn't want to provide, or the ICT company, or whoever doesn't want to provide the service. It's because the support that is required is not there. The enabling environment is not there. So I think it's important when we talk about collaboration, we're collaborating together, but we also have to be collaborating even with government. The enemy is too big for government and operators not to cooperate. There are all kinds of, I mean, even security threats, that have happened globally, that if we're not working hand in glove, and if government doesn't also understand the pain point of the sector, it becomes, the government itself is exposed. So I think that's what I would say. And of course, protection, IP also has to do with security. So, I mean, they're all interwoven, apart from contracts that you sign, you also have issues around cyber security. So these are the issues, really.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Ma. I really appreciate and celebrate those contributions. On a final note, Mr. Atonda, would you want to say something as we round up this section and give a few minutes to questions?
Yeah, thank you very much. I think we will need to accelerate moving from talk to action. Let us have a very short list of the things we think are important for building a resilient ICT sector that promotes and advances the interest of Nigeria. Too many times, all we have are personal agenda, and we find it difficult to sit around a national agenda. For once, can we paint a picture of a resilient national ICT sector? Can we list the steps necessary to make it happen?
Absolutely.
Incentives will be required. What clear advocacy will need to be undertaken? Who are those, like you asked earlier, who need to champion this? I don't believe that everybody will have to do everything at every time. You only need a few people, and that is where one will be depending upon the reach of the founding members of the TTSWG to pull all of these together. And I don't think it's something that, it's not a sprint, it's going to be a marathon. And that's why I think we will need to design milestones for the next 5 years. This and these are the things we'd love to see. At the end of the day, when all of these things are in place, we will prosper together because there's going to be a bigger pie. There's no point all of us struggling in our spaces to bake the smaller pie. I'm talking about the IP. Many times we celebrate this investment in local companies. They are bringing this $1 million. What we're selling cheaply is the IP. We're going to pay for it in Forex. We are going to pay for it in Forex, and there's no better thing than capital flight when we don't even realize that is what we're doing. Why is Nigeria not taking a stake in those Nigerian companies that are being taken? All of a sudden, we realize we need to take a stake in the refinery. But we're talking about the knowledge economy, and nobody's even advocating investing in it's a knowledge economy, which you can deploy over the world in a matter of minutes. You're not waiting for years, and everybody can see the capitalization of Zoom in a matter of months. And you're seeing that happen. If government was just going to take a 10% stake and put cash in businesses, take down some of the deliberate focus on taking down of those inhibitions, which we're saying are against building a resilient ICT industry, then we'll begin to take ourselves more seriously. We're going to take our success stories, no matter what it is. When we're competing with ourselves to go there, let us tell the world what we've been able to do. A chicken in Nigeria is a chicken in Nigeria. We don't care what a chicken in another country looks like today. But the day we are sure our chicken will serve our purpose, let others know it has happened. And then those who don't have chickens, let them come to patronize us for our own chicken, and let's watch us based on our national icon of the eagle. Let us see ourselves soar across many fronts, especially in ICT and telecoms. Thank you very much.
Very, very well. Thank you so much. Well said. I'm trying to read through some of the comments that we have from the participants, and it's been very interesting. Thank you so much, participants, for those beautiful comments. I noticed one of the questions that was talking about how to integrate some of the discussion we're having into a national action plan. Unfortunately, the DG of NITDA can't make it. I'm sure you will be able to have answered some of those questions, but I can actually assure you that from what we've heard from the introduction from TTSWG, this all will be incorporated. And somebody was talking about the communique. Yes, I'm sure at the end of this, there will be a communique. And I saw a note already from TTSWG that we should watch all of these proceedings on YouTube. And just in case anybody wants to ask a question to the panelists, I don't know if that is going to work. Tarere will be able to say that to us. But I think on behalf of TTSWG, I would like to seriously and passionately appreciate all our panelists this afternoon. I'm sure beyond our imagination, the discussion has gone much more. And when we look at what Mr. Tonda just ended with, that we need to put it step by step, what are the actions, what are the steps we need to take? I think maybe with TTSWG and several of us doing one thing or the other here and there, we can actually say, hey, BCD, because one of the things that's even very important in policy implementation is to map out our priorities. A lot of times the policy says a lot, but we can take priorities. If our priority now is advocacy, is integration, which is a critical part of the policy process, we need to do that because we see policies are coming out, action plans are coming out in different ministries, telecoms, NCC is saying their own, NITDA is rolling out as regulatory bodies. And the question is, where is the integration? Where is everybody joining together? And so we can't work again in isolation. The ICT convergence is obvious already. So we need to just draw up those step by step. I wish we have more time. I don't know if Tarere will give us that. And I already saw somebody listing a few organizations and institutions that he or she thinks people should work together on the platform. So if we have those privileges, what are the actions we want to take? Because like we said, we can do all of the talks, and after now, we don't know what next together. So the collaboration, I believe, should start from here. What and what should we start to do? And maybe Tarere, if you give me 2-3 minutes more, I will ask my panelists to say one thing they want us to do immediately. And if you see 2 or 3 ties, we'll start with that with TTSWG. Do we have your permission?
We actually have one question before, maybe we can take the question first from Mr. Boyega.
Okay.
I don't know if you can see it.
Okay, let me check.
I can read the question
from Mr. Boyega. I think the question he has is about how is the ICT sector and practitioner integrated into the national determined contributions framework and mainstreaming same to engage in mitigation and adaptation programs with respect to climate change in Nigeria. Well, I read it. I thought Mr. Atonda has mentioned a little bit of that. And I really feel that that question should go to somebody from the government sector, if you don't mind. But since they are not well represented with us, we can only think that Mr. Atonda will be the champion on our behalf to see how that integration could happen. Mr. Atonda, maybe you want to say one thing about that before.
Yeah, thank you. Like I said earlier, thanks for that question. But I think for the kind of conversation we're having, I think it's too top-tiered where we are now to get these things off the ground, talking about collaboration. So that in itself may form one of the collaboration agenda for TTSWG to say, how do we make that happen if it's not happening right now? Because this is an interface of policy and execution. If the people who have made the policy are not even here to explain it, or the framework for making it work, it will continue to be talk at this end. So I'm suggesting we make it one of the action points as part of the communique, if it can be evaluated, what exactly is in place. Nigeria is not a place for want of policies. Most of them, people are unaware. Many of them, they can't be enforced. And so we're left with, we suffer from the good intentions as even inform some of the policies. Well, the things we need to do, in my opinion, at this point, let's get the building block started. Defining the resilient ICT sector, mapping how much bringing that in will speak to the resilience, and then we take it stepwise. That would be my candid opinion at this point. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. I was going to say, when I saw so many of the comments I saw there, that what is the step we should take? And then one of the things I remember that was done many years back at when Professor Ajayi, late Professor Ajayi was the DG of NITDA, was to put together what he called the multi-stakeholder council that would be, and I remember it was led by the bank manager, Jimovia was the chair. We have youth representation. I was representing women, men, and girls. And then we have several people from the industry, Professor Okebukola, Peter Okebukola, and the rest of them from different sectors with NITDA. And it was such a committee that was meant to drive an advocacy and then ensure that policies are known, are integrated, and are implemented. I'm sure you heard me. The awareness will be created by that committee. There will be integration across sectors and coordinate ministries. And then, of course, there will be full implementation. And if I remember, if possibly, I don't know if that exists again, but if possibly, I would want TTSWG to look into putting that together. And in recent time, when there was a program by the Communication Ministry in Lagos, a stakeholders forum, I did say to them that recently the CBN actually told us in one of the in Nigeria conference that many of the things that we do in the tech sector, they don't understand it. So if they are budgeting for the tech space, they don't even understand what we mean by startup. They just hear us talk about that startup and the rest and the rest. And the question is if they are going to pool their funding together to support, because everything we're talking about will be finalizing on funding. They need us to come to them. They need us to build an advocacy team. And I've said it in so many places that please, that statement, we should take it up. If System Spec is working with TTWG, with law, with everybody that are critical NGOs, and we pull a committee together, 7, 8 man, 10 committee, and approach CBN, then we can begin to talk about how they support this sector to making sure that people that are investing their time, their talents, get something at the end of the day. And I'm happy that our father in the industry, Oracle, is on the seat, Mr. Chris Uwaje. Sir, with TTWSG, I believe you can do something with us to pull these personalities together who represent different things, and then we can move agenda to do something we call interoperability within the sector. It's not worth it for NITDA to be doing so much, NCC is doing so much, but there's no common place between the two regulatory body, not to talk of players under them. And I think that's a big issue. I've seen one issue here. Somebody raised that the panel should please list what they expect. Can we do a listing in 2 minutes? If we have anything, as in we are saying these are priority, then let TTSWG take now agenda and prioritize after now. Maybe you want to say it, if you want to type it out, if you want to say it, people are noting. And I'm very happy that we have a very beautiful audience that are very responsive. Mr. Madameno, let me start from you. One thing you want to see in the next 6 months, can we do it like that from now to December? This is one area we think we should focus on. Can we put a statement on ground as an action plan from here? Yes, ma'am. Mr. Atonda, get ready too, sir.
Yeah,
yes.
I'm thinking that you've already mentioned the main thing that we should do is to try and see how we can come up with a group of people that can work together, both from the private sector and from government, to try and even understand, because education, like we've said, is very important, enlightenment. So it's so that everybody understands. If you talk to NOTAP, you talk to NITDA, a lot, they are the ones that, partner with us or work with us in terms of what we do, but I cannot tell you that they have a full understanding. So definitely that will create the platform, I think. So
thank you. I absolutely agree with you. I don't know if Mr. Atonda has a contrary opinion, sir.
It's complementary and not contrary, and two quick things. One, in the spirit of collaboration for a resilient ICT sector, I think awareness is key. My number one recommendation would therefore be for TTSWG to make a compilation of all existing ICT policies in Nigeria, distill it into a small handbook for all industry practitioners, for them to even be aware of these policies, and on an immediate basis that can help you test if they are built for resilience. And that can be the base of advocacy, awareness, number one. Number two will be for TTSWG to also, on its own or working with others, between now and December, come up with a list of top 100 ICT innovations or projects that have been undertaken in Nigeria that has had an impact. And this on itself becomes a curriculum. You say, we say we don't teach history anymore in schools. We're taking it too far. Even the history of technology in Nigeria is not being told. If we can tell that in the next 6 months, you'll be shocked how far this will go, how much of an inspiration it will be. And it just may be the beginning of the digital museum we're talking about, just 100 ICT projects that have been undertaken by Nigerians, either at home or in diaspora, that have affected the average Nigerian or enhanced governance. And I think that would be a good starting point in terms of specific action. Thank you very much.
I'm so blessed to be talking to this cream of IT people. Fantastic idea, sir. This is just, I just noted them and you are just saying it. So I really feel blessed. Sir, we want to hear from you. This museum.
Yes, just on a parting note, thank you to the organizers of this forum, TTSWG. I think that's a fine moment of my life, I would say, meeting people like Eno, very cerebral. And of course, Dr. Azan did allude about, it doesn't want to be talking about a gender issue. Gender issue is central to this platform.
I'm moderating, sir.
A country that goes to war without the women is also failed on arrival. We saw it in the Desert Storm of the war of Iraq. The first pilot that was captured was a woman, American pilot. You send your women to war, and we are in a digital war. The world is going places that we cannot fathom right now. So what we are saying is that we need everybody on board, and the girl child is central. If you leave the girl child from the digital transformation, the family will suffer. And you need to build a virile and knowledge-ready family for the future fight. So please, the gender issue is core. So on my own personal note, I want to believe that TTSWG should in-house, as it were, I saw their offerings and proposals, create an expert group within TTSG, so that expert group can handshake with other expert groups so that we can have it, so that it doesn't become a sort of a talk palace. All right? So
Thank
then,
you so much.
Yeah,
I was just going
to... Then another one is for us to advocate, because we are having a voice now, but really that voice, for me, the voice is still too small. We need a voice that will bomb positively, and resonate to the rest of the country. We need to advocate for a national telecoms ICT think tank that will be directly, advising Mr. President, any president of Nigeria, because this is going to be a long haul, a long journey. There has to be a national telecoms ICT, think tank that will involve researchers, policymakers, infrastructure development, innovators, and all this, the youths, and all that. That's when you know that, yes, something will be happening. If we have those things, this issue about NSAS and whatever wouldn't have happened. I wrote about the rucksack generation. How do you start to stop people because they have a laptop, which is not a crime? And of course, Atoda should take this up because he is core in this issue of think tanking and moving forward. We need to recover two areas. One, the mind of the hackers, re-engineering their sociological. We need sociologists and psychologists. And then involvement, thick involvement of diasporas, technology diaspora. Talk to Lewy, we established the Nigerian Diaspora Commission, all right? But it was established for the purpose of technology, but we have not seen the umbilical cord between the people at home and the technology people in there.
I really want to appreciate all of you. And right now we just have to round up. Thank you so much. I've taken a whole lot of notes down. I'm sure from after now, I'm going to pass my notes to the organizers, and then not flogging the gender issues you raised already. We have put together what we call Women in Tech, and then Women Doing ICT in Tech. I'm going to add Madam Eno to that platform, both on WhatsApp and on this other one, yeah. So we are trying to pull together who are those doing what in tech, especially who are females, and that's to be able to collaborate too. So we are broadening the scope already, and I want to appreciate all of your contributions. So I put there our final talk about putting together a compilation of people, which are merging with what Oracle, our father, just said now, advocacy group. And then we talked about the handbook that Mr. Atonda mentioned to be compiled together, which will comprise of who is doing what, and then how the history of Nigeria ICT should be put together, and of course, the gender issues. Thank you so much on behalf of TTSWG. We are privileged to be here. We are honored to be on this panel. And I want to thank the chief executive, who, interestingly, all of them are all females, and I really celebrate them, except for the man, the gentleman who spoke to us about TTWSG. We call him the he for she in the midst of these beautiful, wonderful ladies. I hand over now to Tarere to take it over from here. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, our participants, for being wonderful to us. Thank you. God bless.
Thank you, Dr. Hassan. Thank you to our panelists. This was a very, very insightful session. Really enjoyed it. We've gotten so much, not just discussion, but also solutions and action points that we can use and go forward and work on in the next few months. I would like to specifically say that the DG of NITDA was to join us. He had confirmed and was to join us. However, he had some technical issues and was unable to join. But we are going to take all of your feedback and questions and comments to him, and we'll aim to bring feedback to you all as within the next few days and weeks. And we look forward to, continue to communicate with you all and engaging you all. So at this point, we'll have a quick poll. I know our time is fast spent, but we'll just have a quick poll that will pop up on the screen. And if you can quickly just answer the questions, and we'll move on to our last item on the agenda and we'll close. Okay, so I can see a lot of people are answering the poll. Thank you so much for answering the poll. We appreciate your participation. All right, so without further ado, I will introduce Mr. Edward Fagunhu, who will be giving us our closing remarks. Mr. Edward Fagunhu is the Manager, Sustainability and Impact Reporting, MTN Foundation, and he's also a TTSWG member rep. Mr. Fagunhu, please go ahead.
All right. Thank you very much, Tarere. And I'd like to especially thank the panelists, distinguished panelists, for a very wonderful and brilliant session. It's been thought-provoking and quite challenging to every one of us. There is the need now going forward for more collaboration in order to build a resilient ICT sector. Elinkela said that alone we can do so little, together we can do so much. And Bekeme stressed also in our opening address, both at the beginning and at the end, that no man is an island, and also no company is an island. So we all need to collaborate and in order to build a resilient ICT sector. And why do we need to collaborate? Very importantly, it is good for us because it will help us to scale in whatever we're doing. Secondly, to help us to provide greater impact to society, and also it will also bring about innovation, greater innovations that will change a lot of things in our society, that will bring about solutions to some of the problems that we face here in Nigeria. And the truth of the matter is that most of the things that are like challenges to us in this part of the world, there are things we can actually solve with technology. And we don't need to go abroad to look for any help anywhere. So, and I'd also like to stress that one thing that has come through in the course of the conversation is the fact that This is not just going to be another talking session, another platform for just engaging one another and talking, but it's going to be a call to action. And I'd like to enjoin every one of us to be part of this drive to a resilient ICT sector. Let's put all hands on deck to ensure that we are able to deliver the best for our country. And because every one of us has a stake in this business and in Nigeria as a whole, as it were, too. So thank you once again, the participants, and thank you very much, our distinguished panelists. And I want to say, have a wonderful day. Over to you, Tarire. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fagbonu. That was a great closing remarks. I want to thank you for doing that for us. We want to also thank the panelists once again, the moderator. Thank you for doing an amazing job. This was very, very insightful. I personally learned a lot. Personally begin to see things from a very unique and different perspective. And I know a lot of people on this call share similar sentiments. I would also like to just thank our audience. Thank you all for being a part of this. I hope you all enjoyed it as much as I did. Lastly, I would like to thank the team that put this together, from Bekeme to Dami Veracruz and Elizabeth. I would like to thank you all, and I look forward to, I hope you all look forward to other events that we're putting on. We'll definitely put out advertisement for our next event, so look out for that. And we will be working on the action points, and we'll be communicating all of that information to you as we go. Thank you all, and have a good rest of the day. Goodbye.